Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the nameless talk show that is this, whatever the fuck this is. Today we've got with me here. I've got on the first camera one there. We've got Zesky, as a B-rank Terran out of Australia, right?
Yeah, Australia. That's correct.
Hell yeah!
If you can't tell by the accent.
Glad you flipped his camera so that way we could actually see him right side up for us.
Oh,
He's upside down.
Yeah, I'm very considerate like that, man. I'm very, very considerate like that.
And then in box number 2 here, we've got none other than Airn. Does a lot of casting, and also you guys have probably seen him on Twitch, things like that. And in box number 3, as just kind of a placeholder image for right now, we have none other than Mr.Peanutbutter, represented by Mr. Peanutbutter from BoJack Horseman.
Thank you. I thought it was an accurate representation of how I look, so, I felt that was a good stand-in.
No, dude, that works. That totally works.
This is a great crossover episode.
That's what I was going for.
Oh yeah, because he's always like, is this a crossover episode? I forgot about that. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody the heads up. So today I do have to. It's going to be a hard cutoff at 7:30, so in an hour. Just because I do have shit I have to do, unfortunately. But the hour should be enough time. We got plenty of stuff on the table today. Plenty of questions that I think are going to be really awesome and that you guys are going to hopefully enjoy. So I guess first things first, we'll just kind of go around whoever wants to go first, but kind of just like introduce yourself, how you got into StarCraft, like how long you've been doing competitive stuff, that kind of a thing.
You want to just go down the line? We can start with Zesky.
Sure. Yeah, whatever works.
All right. Well,
on the spot immediately.
Yeah. I've actually answered this question multiple times because a lot of people ask, you're young. Like, what are you doing playing this game? Why aren't you playing Fortnite or something? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But yeah, I started playing Broodwar it was during like peak COVID, right? This was like peak COVID. It was like 2020 was sometime around there. And my first game remastered actually was one of Artosis's chat FFAs. It was like some sort of like team FFA. My ally left, and it was like a big thing. But yeah, that was actually my first remastered game. I did play Broodwar. I won't lie. I did play Broodwar when I was younger, like 6 or 7, like around there. But I only really played the campaign. Didn't really know anything about it. It was like a pirated copy too. It was like, it didn't even have the expansion. It didn't really count. So
no Marines,
I technically
just only mech.
Yeah, no Goliath range, no
no medic, no valve,
no lurker, no medic, all that shit. Like it was vanilla as fuck.
Praise the good Lord.
But yeah, I started in 2020. I started watching some ASL, like ASL 9, with like a mate of mine, and I really just enjoyed the game just from watching it. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. It has a lot of depth, and yeah, just sort of like just kept going from there. Just eventually found my way into CPL, kept grinding, and yeah, hopefully one day we'll hit A rank. But
there's only one way to do it.
For you, don't worry.
Yeah, just gotta go. Winners win.
Yeah.
All right.
Airn, Mr. Peanutbutter, anybody, whoever would like to go.
Yeah, Airn, how about this? You can go first, and I'll bring up the rear on this one.
Sounds good. All right, so I have been playing StarCraft for God knows how long. I picked it up in 2001 because I have an older brother. I was 5 at the time, and he'd either just gotten like the original Xbox or something, because I know he wasn't on the computer as much because he's the older brother and he gets to choose what happens first. So I was relegated to the computer, and I went, oh hey, StarCraft. And I played the campaign, and then when we finally got, the ability to have multiple devices on the internet at once, very revolutionary at the time, if you might remember. Once we finally got the ability to do that, I was played UMS all day, every day. Didn't really get into competitive basically until COVID. And I've played Broodwar and StarCraft 2 on and off since 2001. It's been a long journey. And now I do a lot more casting, and I think it's a lot more fun, at least for me, because I'm really bad at playing. But when I'm really bad at casting, at least it's funny.
Dude, I feel you on that one, man. I've been switching over to casting myself here just because it's like I'm getting there, but it's a fucking grind, and it gets frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you're Zesky, in which case you're just good at the game.
B, man. B forever. That's B forever.
Yeah.
Just like Jinjin.
Hi. Hi, I'm E rank.
I was gonna say, welcome to our fellow E ranks in the sewer here, hanging out, just kind of slumming it, down here. But yeah, so I guess
Korean Smurfs like we do.
Oh, right. I was gonna say, not every third game that you play is somebody with 350 APM that just dumpsters you with fire bats for some reason, and you're like, I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah.
I
Don't
guess
you
I'm
worry.
dead now.
We will be going
Yeah.
into that in this episode, so don't worry.
I mean,
We will be talking about that and commiserating, so don't worry.
I would like to think that that's truly a StarCraft experience, is getting dumpstered by a Korean 12-year-old doing just insane shit to you. And you have tried your hardest, and you're like, man, I'm like 35, and I'm about to cry. Like, this is
And they're in a
terrible.
PC cafe.
Oh,
they're in a PC
100%.
cafe or something.
All their buddies are
they're
just standing
sitting-
around them, fucking laughing their asses off. They're like, "Look at this
Yeah,
American!
the
Ha, what a
landing
piece of
barracks
shit!"
Oh yeah, and they're all like
Barracks
drinking.
is in your main.
Yeah,
You're just
and
like,
you're just like, I don't know what to do. I can't handle this. Like, I think I'm gonna break down. I need to stop playing this game. I can't do this. And this is a 12-year-old laughing their ass off at you.
By the way, I just want to
take
make
a
sure that
shot,
it's.
you re-queue.
I just want to make sure, since it's going on YouTube, there's nothing against Korean people in any way, shape, or form. This is not a hate. This is not hate speech.
This is a I can't believe how good they are, and I'm in awe of it, and I wish I could be that good. I am not, but I wish I could be.
Dude,
It's more of an admiration thing, to be honest. It's more of like, God damn, man. Like, I know what I was doing when I was 12, and I wasn't this good at anything. I was eating crayons and paste most of the
Well,
time.
that explains a lot, doesn't it?
I mean, it does. I mean, to be honest, that. Also, I was drinking a lot. I grew up in Wisconsin, so like it was a lot of
At
drinking.
12?
And yeah, there's really no
That sounds
drinking
about
age in
right.
Wisconsin. Yeah, so like some
It's
funny
just
story
like
about
pounding
Wisconsin.
a hard one at fucking 12 years
Well,
old.
it's mostly
Out on
beer.
the porch with a
like,
40, just like kicking it with a Mickey's or something. Like,
yeah, just with the
What, you
bumblebee
know?
on it. Well, so the thing,
Dad's got Bud Light, kids got Twisted Tea.
yeah, like listen, you don't get hard liquor till you're like in high school. But under high school, like you do what you want. It's beer, wine, it's fine. Funny story, in Wisconsin, you can actually drink in bars until you're 18 because your parents can allow you to drink in any bar in Wisconsin. That's legal until you turn 18, and then between 18 and 21, you cannot drink in bars because you're a legal adult, so your parents can't do anything. So for like weirdly 3 years you can't drink, and then when you hit 21 you can go back to drinking as much as you want.
that's some very
Dave.
interesting, weird Wisconsin lore that I dig, actually. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Funny story also, DUIs in Wisconsin, not a felony. You can have like 20. So
My
funny
brother lives
story,
there,
too.
so-
Zesky.
Yeah, you know the deal. You can have like a bucket full, and don't get me wrong, shouldn't do that. To all the kids listening, don't do that. But
For the
You can-
YouTube person reviewing this, please don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know about
please
kids,
don't
but
drink and drive. That's true. I mean, Zesky's probably the youngest person watching this, so like, to be honest,
Zesky, don't drink and
I
drive.
mean, that's probably accurate. I mean, I probably am.
yeah, don't
But,
drink and drive.
I'm also I'm also Australian, so we're no strangers to the drinking culture. All right. I mean, we
that's
have
true.
I don't think you can go to any sort of sporting event out here without at least a beer in your hand. It is pretty wild. I don't know how big prees are in America, but it's a massive fucking deal over here. I'll
They don't
tell you
have-
that. Like
what?
Freeze?
prees. So prees is what you drink before you go to your event. So you don't
Oh,
want to go to
pre-game.
the event like
Pre-game.
Oh,
Pre-game.
pre-gaming.
yeah, pre-gaming. We call them prees over
Okay.
here. But like
Oh,
you
That's
don't
way
want to go to
cooler
your
somehow.
event. You don't want to go to
Yeah.
your event sober. I mean, going sober
No, God,
sucks,
no.
right? You got to go there just before you get drunk. So as soon as you have your first drink, that's when you're like,
It's too
that's when you're
expensive.
all wild.
Oh,
Yeah. Expense is one thing, but also it's in Australia, being drunk means you're having a good time. That's what it means. So
Yeah,
I'm no
Australia, guys.
stranger
I'll see you
to
nerds later.
strange. Yeah, I'm no stranger to drinking culture at all.
Fair enough. So, believe it or not, we are going to be talking StarCraft stuff, and so
What a
this leads me
shame.
to just kind of like a really fast question. This should be like a really quick answer for all of you guys, but I mean, you might have to think about it for a little bit. But if you could choose a player of any rank, and you like without it being like a cheese or like some fluke, any player of any rank that you could beat, who would it be? And it can't be Flash or Light.
Escalade.
Hawk.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna
Right out the
say-
gate.
Just fuck that guy. I'm gonna say Hawk.
Okay.
Not
I'm
a
like-
Korean pro,
I'm
but
over here just
definitely-
messaging these people like. This
Right, just
person
like,
is-
hey Hawk.
Dude,
So
you
Mr.
let
Peanut
Escalade
Butter.
know that I called him out on fucking Talkshow or whatever we're calling it. I'll say it to his face. I love the guy, but no, every time I play him, I absolutely get dumpstered on by some crazy strategy that I absolutely hate.
Fair enough. What about you, Zesky?
I've been thinking about it like while you guys are talking. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. Like,
You can pick more than
Because-
one. That's totally fine.
like everyone has such a like. It's really hard to judge yourself to others. Like, everyone's play style is very different, right? Everyone plays their race a certain way, and that's the way that they view it as. Like, it's their interpretation of like the Korean meta almost in a way. So it's really hard for me to see myself playing someone without, having at least a couple of games because I have no idea what the game's going to be like. That's the beauty of StarCraft, really, is that, like, every single game is going to be rather unique because the two players are not going to make the same decisions every single time. So, if I say I had to play one, I would say it's probably going to be those sweaty, nerdy Korean D rank players on the ladder. I mean, I will beat them every single time without a doubt because they do the same shit every single time. There's no variance in their play. It's always just the same, like 4 or 5 strategies, and I will just recognize it and I'll just demolish them. I mean,
Well, I
that's
meant,
just how it is.
so what I meant more like was like if there was like a pro that you could like
I know.
snap
but
your fingers.
Yeah, and that's why I said the
D rankers?
D rank. Yeah, it's like I can't really imagine myself beating pros at the moment. Like
Well, yeah.
their skill
yeah.
is so far beyond
Do
mine.
you have
that-
anyone that you like play a bunch though, that you just struggle to beat sometimes?
There you go.
CPL opponents, NSL opponents, NWL opponents, CSL opponents.
Uh,
You never play in CSL anymore.
Ladder
I
opponents.
think the opponent who I would say like I wouldn't say they're a pro, but at least they're better than me. I think I can beat is Love Snow. I think I can beat
Oh,
Love Snow in like
TVT
a
managed.
series. Yeah, in like a TVT. I think I can beat him in a series. And hey, Love Snow, if you're watching this is no criticism at your play at all.
He's saying you
So
suck,
you're
Love
an
Snow.
amazing
Get
player
in
and
here.
you have
Teach him a
matchups.
lesson.
Yeah,
You're
but
the best
and
in
if you
Love
do want
Snow.
and Love
Dad's
Snow,
show match.
if you want to do a show match with me and absolutely stomp on my balls, go ahead, man. I would be more than willing
Jokes on you,
to
he's into that.
play into that. No, not.
Jokes on
Uh,
double jokes. Both of you are into it. It's not just
Yeah.
him. It is both of them are into that trade-off.
I would
may not be-
honestly. Oh,
I
sorry.
may
Go
not
ahead.
be into the show match, but air just twisted my words around there. I should have seen that coming. I've known that guy
I'm
for a while.
messing with you.
I find it funny that Love Snow was on episode 1, and then episode 2 we just immediately get like a rivalry of some kind of like, yo, I'm challenged, or like at some point I think I can beat you kind of thing. It'd be funny if that just like continued and like progressed. Like somebody's gonna pick like one of the three of you next episode and be like, that guy. I know I can beat the shit out of that guy.
Oh,
We're
that'd
gonna
be
invite Breeze on next week. He's like the fucking air guy. I'm gonna kick his ass next time.
that would be amazing if it was like you had to call out someone from the previous episode.
Ooh.
Like, oh, you're on the new episode? Yeah, you got to take on somebody from the last episode.
There's a good gimmick.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah, don't-
hilarious.
Yeah, no, our like next episode's like Izu, Hawk, and fucking
Oh,
Machine.
God.
And they're like, you know what, Mr. Peanutbutter, bring it on.
And I'll be like, Jesus, okay, 4-pool. That's it. That's the only chance I've got. 4-pool. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you said it now. Now it's not gonna work.
Well, right? No, I got to
Yeah,
do
now they're
a
ready.
hidden proxy hatch, right? You can do that. Yeah, this is Broodwar. Yeah, I'll we'll do that.
Well, I think like we're talking like build orders and stuff, and like Zesky was mentioning, talking about the D rank players that kind of piss him off. We were talking about all the Korean players that we play against in like E and F rank and shit like that. Because I myself am like mid E rank as well, so like I deal with Smurfs every fucking day. Anybody that's in F and E, they always do. I mean, you get it all the way up the ladder, but it's extremely prevalent at F and E. So that leads to this question, which I think this one's going to be a little bit more open to interpretation, but so what is your opinion on the phrase standard play?
Nonsense.
Bullshit.
I think it's valid to a certain extent.
Okay.
And I think standard play clearly refers to a optimized meta, Korean meta play style where you're playing a very all-rounded, like, obviously this is open to interpretation, right?
Yeah,
Like,
100%. This is as open-ended as it can be.
You can obviously be like, hey, standard play is whatever you make standard play. If you want to 8-rack, if you want to like the BBS every single game, that's your standard, that's it, right? But to me, like, standard is just playing a very robust build where you're just simply grinding out games and like you're trying to just like be as robust as possible and hold against anything that really your opponent can do. So you see like these very like standard, like they're the meta builds. Like there's something you're gonna do. They're like your racks expand into 4 racks or like 2 racks into like fast tech and TBZ, for example, or they're your ZVP like. Oh, actually, I shouldn't use ZVP as an example because I'm a little bit out of my depth there. But TVP, like doing some sort of like Fact FE into Upterran. Those are like standard builds. Those are like your bread and butter. If you need to fall back on that, those are the builds that you're going to hold on to. So yeah, I think the phrase standard build has validity to a certain extent. You shouldn't rely on only doing. You don't have to just play a very standard like play style. Like you don't need to like play Upturn or anything and have be a successful player. But knowing those builds in your repertoire should be like your first order business to really like practice the fundamental elements of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, standard builds, they are a thing. Like that's that.
Well, and I think personally, when I hear standard play, I think there's 2 different ways to play this game, right? And it's the same with pretty much any strategy game, right? There's 2 different ways you can take it. You can take it as a win is a win. It doesn't matter how you get there, but a win is a win. Or you can take it as I would like to practice this particular aspect. I want to make sure that my defenses, my offenses, everything is completely well-rounded, and that I just essentially outplay the other person, either over time or just seeing a weakness and pushing in at that point. And I think that like that is kind of the crux of like even in chess. Like there's chess players all the time that are like their game, every single game is like, I'm going to go in as fast as possible and try to end the game in like 15 moves or 20 moves or however much. I don't know shit about chess, but I mean, I know a little bit. And it's kind of the same thing with StarCraft, right? Like you see it a lot, especially in like the Chinese scene and stuff. There's a lot of players that are like, they do forward 8 racks. They do, proxy gates. They do 9-pool every single game, every single matchup. And that's just how they play. And the games are fast and furious. I don't know. I think that I think it's a pretty I think it's open to interpretation quite a bit as well.
I think standard play, it like you say, oh, it's a standard play, has value in the fact that I can say, this guy's doing the standard, and okay, he's getting up, factories 3 and 4 in a TVP, or he's getting hatcheries 4 and 5 in a ZVP or whatever, right? I can just kind of say a blanket statement of standard play, and generally it's understood. I do think that kind of paints people into a corner though, where they're expecting, oh, I've got to just do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if I don't have factories 3 and 4, I should just like leave out immediately, right? And you see this on the ladder.
Yeah.
You're 2-3 minutes into a game and they just leave. And then you go back and watch the replay, and it's because like their SCV danced around while trying to do something, and they're like really trying to optimize. You see stupid stuff like that whenever. And I think it's helpful on a higher level of like casting, especially at like pro level or close to pro level. But I think at like the level that most people are at, I think it's useful, but kind of overemphasized to the point of almost being a problem.
I can see that to a certain extent,
I build hydras. Like, I don't play the standard. I don't do a standard game type play, I'm just going to build hydras and throw them at you because I think it's fun.
And that's totally valid. Like, that, at the end of the day, it's a game. Like, right? Like, you should be having fun. If you're not having fun doing a standard build, and it's, to be perfectly honest with you, if it's too fucking hard, who gives a shit? A lot of the wrong thing beats a little of the right thing every single time, right? If you build only Zerglings but you have perfect upkeep on it, and you have like you're hitting your drones, you're hitting your overlords, you're doing whatever you need to do to like continue to like spend that money, but you're only building lings and you flood them in, and that Terran player, Protoss player, other Zerg player, whoever is trying to play standard, but they can't do it, and they're missing their timings. You're just gonna fucking walk them, like.
Oh, 100%.
And to be honest, that's kind of why I think that standard play or meta play is, again, nonsense is a little bit of a hard word, but to me, I understand why it exists and why it's a purpose, but at the level that most of us play at, and that's an overly general statement, but at the level that most of us play at, it's more about, do you have some level of control and mechanical skill, as opposed to specifically, are you playing like a meta build or a build that is, the correct counter or reciprocal action towards the person doing this. For most of us, it's more honestly of a mechanical challenge to the game of Broodwar than it truly is are you playing a meta build or are you playing the correct alternative build? It's more of like you're fighting the system. You're fighting the game more than you're fighting the other person.
Yeah.
At least at this level. And again,
It's
exclusion,
at all levels.
of course.
At all levels, you're fighting the game to an extent, right? I mean, when you have the SCV dancing on top of your depot for the third time today, you're like,
I can't build
on,
there.
Just standing there like, I'm not going to shoot.
Come on, like, we're sick of this, guys. Can we get over this? But
Right.
I definitely think, you've all got the general consensus, and I agree with that. Like, you don't need to play the standard build to get better at the game, and I think that's a fact. Like, you don't have to play, but standard does have this rhythm to it, where because if you think about all build orders as a flowchart, right? And everything, all the decisions have been mapped out by someone who's played the game for many, many more hours than you, with way more experience and way more understanding. So, with that all mapped out, if you decide to play standard, this means that you don't really have to do as much thinking, and you can focus on your fundamentals, which is something that most lower rank players should be focusing on anyway. Fundamentals is like the main thing you need to focus on at the beginning. You need to, if you can't make your workers, what's the point of hitting your timings, right? Like, nothing else matters if you can't make the work. If you can't make enough army to hit 200 pop, then there's not really any point to, hitting the timings, doing the optimized strategy, like all this meta's out the window because you're already not doing what's assumed, right? So the standard simplifies the game and allows players to just simply work on those mechanical, because StarCraft is mostly a mechanical game. It allows you to work on those primary mechanical elements, and you can just sort of like eventually you'll work your way out of that, and then you can start thinking about some unoptimized, like some off-meta builds, maybe some unique styles to play on your own. But that takes a lot of theory crafting, a lot of knowledge about the game, about your opponent, about their race. And if you don't have those internal workings to begin with, because you've only played for like 100 hours, how are you supposed to do all this on your own? It's kind of impossible. You'll often see like when players like work on their own stuff, you'll see them cross-referencing across multiple different builds to make sure that their builds line up properly compared to certain timings that their opponent does, how they adjust to certain strategies. It all needs to be analyzed and compared, and that's why standard is just so much better for newer players to focus on standard. But again, at the end of the day, StarCraft is a video game, right? We're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy ourselves. And if you're not having fun doing standard and you don't want to grind or you just want to goof off, then you can just, throw in Hydras in a ZVZ now again, like Air does. Like, do whatever you want. Especially if you don't want to, if you don't have you might have a desire to rank up, but like you don't want to do it in a really efficient method. Like you just want to have fun doing it. Then chuck in whatever you want and just focus on your game plan and just do that. But standard has a very critical role to play when it comes to quickly improving, and I think that's where standard really shines. It allows players to quickly improve in the game in a really difficult game.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of also brings me straight over to another question that I kind of came up with as well, and it has to do because we're talking about what it's like at different ranks and things like that. And actually, Fuzzy Branch mentioned here, he chatted in and said it's standard for a reason, but that reason isn't always the most relevant at non-pro levels. And that kind of leads me actually to this next question here that I wanted to kind of pick you guys' brains on, which was, do you think that each rank is different in subjective difficulty than others? Like, for instance, do you think that there are some aspects of F rank that are harder than, say, like some B and A rank situations? Or do you think in the other way around where, like, I mean, obviously there's like, players are much, much more skilled in A and B rank. However, difficulty-wise, they are going to be looking for specific things. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could every so often kind of throw off their play. Like, I don't know.
So this is interesting for a couple different reasons. I think it's hard to say, but like on the lower levels, right? In your FED rank, because timings aren't, I don't want to say not relevant, but timings aren't exactly what most players are thinking about at FED rank. You have a lot of leeway to just kind of show up with lurkers at some point.
Yeah.
Or just have a DT show up because they don't have their turrets ready, right? You have a lot of leeway for that, and that makes it harder in a different way where your opponent can be doing just some dumb shit and you don't know and you might not be prepared just because, your timings aren't perfect and that's just kind of not where you're at.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, once you pass that, once you're, CBAS, as you get to the top half of the ladder, their timings are down to the second. And if yours aren't down to the second, you lose instantly. Oh, your turret was this close to finishing? Doesn't matter. DT killed your SCV, and now you lost. Right? And so I think it's two different types of difficulty that you run into.
And see so where this question kind of spawned from was actually from episode 1, because we were talking about what our favorite units to micro against versus our least favorite unit to go up against, kind of thing. And they're both A and B rank. And Zesky, you'll probably agree with what they said, which was Reavers. They absolutely fucking hated playing against somebody that's good with Reavers because it will just pick you apart. Whereas at E and F rank, there's not too many people that are super good with Reavers. So we're more afraid of a different unit. Like, personally, mine is fucking Ultras. Because out of nowhere, 12 Ultralisks will just fucking show up in your base and just nuke you. And they don't have to have any skill for that. They literally just have to have built... You just had to have not scouted or messed up in some way. And all of a sudden, they built them.
Yeah. And I think that is a perfect example of the differences between A and F rank in terms of, like, the units that you fear. Ultras are, when you look at like how ultras are built, right? The ultras are like the scaling unit. Well, I guess they, yeah. I'll make that assumption. Like they're a scaling unit. You need to build. Let's think about how you even get to ultras. First, there are tier 3 units. So you need your hive. You need and an ultra den, right? Then you also need evo chamber. You can you can't really use ultralisks without a +1 carapace. So that's another sunken cost. Like you can, I've just listed like 4 different things with massive costs involved to get ultras to work. And for a Terran player that's going bio, that means that if you're not appropriately dealing with that fast scaling Zerg tech, which means you need to be hitting your time, you need to be hitting your macro in order to deal with that. That's where the difficulty comes in, because you're not hitting those macro targets in order to properly deal with the ultralist scaling. And that's what it boils down to. But at B rank, I'll say BA rank, that gap starts to close. The Terran starts to get a bit better at the macro. They start to hit their timings a bit better. Their micro is a little bit more crisp. But then so is your opponent. And that's when like Mutalisk, Reavers, and stuff like that starts to come into play, because you can be hitting all your timings, but if you're moving your units incorrectly, you will get torn apart. Like that's just the nature of Reavers, right?
Yeah.
Like you will, like I remember when I played Doodle. We played like 10 games in a row. He went Reavers every single time. I would play very solidly during that early game with my Vulture. I would deny his third base. I was consistently getting the mine down at his third and like stopping the third base from going up, scouting what he was doing and playing appropriately. But as soon as his Reavers drop started coming in, he was just tearing me apart. I couldn't handle that pressure. The multitask started to become too much, and that's where the game ended pretty much. So yeah, like the highest skilled units, and as you get better at microing and multitasking, those highest skilled units really start to tear into your plate. Like they really start tearing you apart, and they become more of a challenge. Eventually, you'll get over that obstacle, but then your opponents will also get better at everything. So eventually, you restart the process all over again. But more at like the FD rank levels, yeah, those like more scaling or like really like macro heavy like oriented strategies that your opponents can do. Like a Protoss, if Protoss does like some sort of 2-base strategy and the Terran doesn't really know what to do, like it's very easy for me to counter. If I see a Protoss going 2-base, I know exactly what he's doing. I know exactly how to respond to that. I can macro my way out of it, but at F and D rank, they might know how to do that, but they just can't get there because they don't have the macro. So, yeah, like I think Ultralisk and Reaver really are 2 perfect examples of the different worlds that higher rank and lower rank players will experience.
Well, and that also kind of brings another one too. Like this is something I've talked about a lot. It's not another question that's like written down or anything like that, but that what you just brought up, the whole like, at lower rank, you might not have the multitasking capability. Like you're limited on, like this game in particular is a game of precision, right? And so like if you don't really hit your timings well, or like if there's like standard play, for instance, if you personally can't as a Zerg player micro your Mutalisks crazy enough to like actually do damage to the Terran and delay them from getting out of their base, which is the standard play, right? If you can't do that, go Lurkers. Like do something different. You have to alter your play, because if you don't, you're going to miss micro these units that require all this APM and all this multitasking that you don't have. And if you don't have it, then it's weaker than if you had just done something different. So
I think a great like standard play is different for every rank as well. I think that's really, really what you need to keep in mind.
I agree with that.
At the lower ranks, standard is going to look different, and that's why across every single rank, all the matchups have very. I really want someone to make a graph where they actually map out all the win rates at every single rank, and just see and compare the differences that different ranks actually struggle with.
That's doable.
It would be a really interesting graph to see, especially for why people complain race wine all the time. You'll see like all the E rank just like Protoss is smashing everyone. That's why everyone complains about Protoss when they're down there. But like Fuck, I've lost my train of thought now.
You
Talking
good,
too
dude?
much about Protoss. I was talking too much about Protoss, and I just got angry. I was like, God damn it,
I was
Protoss.
gonna
But yeah, like the standard play is different across the board for all these different ranks. And actually, I'm not sure you guys know, but Nagna, he's another Australian Protoss, Australian Zerg, and he and I usually go over like different builds that like you should play from like F to like A rank, and like how a new player with zero experience coming into Broodwar, what builds you give them, what you tell them to focus on, and like the general progression path. And yes, playing the standard play. Like I would not give a new Zerg player that's new to ZVP 3-hatch Spire to play. That's an A rank or higher build.
That's a build.
You need to hit your timings. You need to Mutalisk micro. You need to understand. You need to have map. Like you need to look at the mini map. You need to have
Scourge dancing
game
versus
sense.
there.
There's just so many different fundamental skills you need as a baseline before you even start the build. So why would you give a new player this build as standard? So the standard build has to look different, or well, can look different for every single rank. But I don't think there's anything wrong. This is going back to standard build, I guess. But there's nothing wrong with trying to do the A rank build and like throwing yourself in the deep end. It's all a matter of how you want to approach the game and what your preferred learning style is.
I have a fun little twist on this with a question that I also want to point at Mr. Peanutbutter because he's being a little too quiet here.
Yes. Hello.
He's on this side of me. There we are. For chat reasons, I'm making sure I point at him correctly. Since we've talked about, like scary units, Ultra versus Reavers, we talked about like different builds, different levels. What do you guys think about balance winding versus skill issue, right?
What do you mean?
Like you lose to something, right? Like you lose to Ultras. I lose to like 2 Storms because I looked away from my army for a second because Protoss is bullshit. Or like, something like that. Versus saying like, no, this game is such a high skill ceiling that it's just like Reavers, right? The more money, the more APM you put into them, more APM you put into mutas to, whatever unit, the better it gets.
Yeah.
So like you have a lot of people who will say like, oh, Protoss is, strong because X, or Terran's good because Y. Versus what do you think of just responding skill issue every time someone complains?
So, I think that's really interesting. I think, if I had to throw, my 2 cents in here on it.
You do. You're on the show. It's
3.
unfortunate. Sorry.
Ah, well, thank you. No, you know what? I'm happy to. I'm happy to be here. Happy to throw in my perspective. So to me, I think, how to put it? I think that people don't acknowledge enough that things are legitimately way easier to do at different skill levels. So I think a great example of this, and so I play Terran and Zerg, right? So I play both races. I play a lot of the TVZ ZVT matchup, and I think not enough folks are open to admitting, hey, Crazy Zerg is frickin' easy. Like, you have to think about very little, you have to actually do very little, versus what you have to do as Terran to attempt to counter that build, or to attempt to, even if you recognize it, even if you look at it and go, oh crap, they're going Crazy Zerg. Okay, I know what to do. Let me get my upgrades on. Let me get double port vessel. Start irradiating the shit out of everything. Even if you know what to start doing, it takes so much more skill and effort to do than, to be honest, getting 6 to 10 ultras and moving them across the map with some lings in the back.
Yep.
And I don't think there's enough of a acknowledgement that there are ways to play that are drastically easier.
Oh yeah.
That do scale up pretty well. And I think people tend to fall back to the crutch of like, well, you just need to get better to beat it. And it's like, yeah, but this person did a third of the work that I did and they still smothered me. And it's like, well, you need to be 10 times better. It's not like you need to be twice as good. You need to be an absurd amount better to handle whatever they did because there is such a disparity
Me
in
and
how
Zesky are thinking
easy
the
some
same
things
shit.
are to do.
No,
Yeah, I
I'm
was gonna
just
say I
thinking
see
about-
some head nodding.
I just remember at the first Tasteless Land party, I think it was Artosis to ask like the question, what do you do when the Protoss goes 12 next cross map into carrier first? And from memory, Light's response was, "You just got to be better than them. That's all it is. There's nothing else to
Yeah.
it. It's just you just
Yeah.
got to be better than them. That's that. There's
I
no real fancy timings or anything. You can try and drop their base to even up the worker count. But you just at the end of the day, you just got to be better. And
think.
that's how it is.
Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Peanut Butter. Sorry, man.
Oh, and I was gonna say, and I think, I think to be honest, when it comes to some of the ways that we bring new people into the community, like CPL, like some of the different leagues that are involved, and this is not a condemnation on any of the leagues or anything like that. I've had a wonderful time with them. I think they're amazing. To share a little bit of my background, I picked up Broodwar probably a week before the CPL season started. Like, what was it, CPL 9?
Can I say something really quick? Just
Oh, yeah.
because it's directly about you and your experience in CPL. You progressed faster than pretty much anybody I have ever seen in this goddamn game, and you kicked my ass so many fucking times using Crazy Zerg with a hidden third base that the second you talked about fucking Crazy Zerg, my PTSD kicked in, and I was like, God damn it, this motherfucker.
Yeah, you're like fucking Mr. Peanut Butter had four gases, and he just Crazy Zerged the shit out of me.
Every time that I play you, sorry, hold on, really quick. Every time I play you, I go to look for a hidden third. Every single time, I'm just like, oh no, that's how I know.
And there always is. And the thing is, there always is. There's always a hidden third.
Sorry, go ahead. Actually, this isn't important.
I was gonna say, what's funny about it is the reason that I kind of defaulted to that style or learned that style was, so again, I learned Broodwar. Honestly, I hadn't played Broodwar in probably 20 years. And CPL Season 9 came. This was Season 9, right? The one that just completed here, and we're going into Season 10. So
hashtag
Season
10
9
win.
came up. Hashtag Season 10 win. So Season 9 came up, and I was like, this might be fun. So I spent about a week before the season started just kind of learning, like, okay, how do units work? How does shit work? And to be honest, what I did was I looked at it and went, okay, what's the easiest, most brain dead thing I can do with each race? With the Zerg, with Terran, well, and I don't play Protoss, to be honest. I play Zerg versus Terran and versus Protoss, and then I play Terran versus Zerg.
I think Mac,
but honestly. I went, okay. Oh, 100%. I played mostly
Don't even start me on his fucking mech, all right?
Yeah, Aaron's going to be real salty about that. I mech at work, if you will.
This man right down here.
But it's one of those that, I don't think we do a good enough job, to be honest, this is just a general statement, but I don't think we do a good enough job of talking to new players and going, listen, these are some of the easier ways to play. And to be honest, these will give you a pretty good feeling of good aspects of the game, because what I did was I went, okay, what's the easiest shit I can do with Zerg versus Terran and Protoss? Okay, I'm going to learn how to do that well, because I know I'm an idiot. I know I'm not good at this. I learned this game a week ago, but what's something easy and basic I can focus on and understand? And that will at least give me something to build off of going forward. And that's kind of what I've used as a core. And I think, to be honest, I think it'd be helpful to explain to people more, like, no, if you're new to this game, dude, screw 8 racks, screw 4 racks. Like, learn a basic 2 racks pressure build, or learn just mech. Just learn Goliath mech into, like, tanks. Right? And as you know, fuck mech.
Learn your standard play.
Yeah, learn your standard.
Learn. That's actually a very, very valid point. Like, that's when I was designing like all these different builds that the progression a player should do from 0 hours of Broodwar to all the way to A rank, really. That they should do for Zerg and Protoss Terran. It was start with the easy stuff. It's purely focus on your fundamentals. Like Crazy Zerg. Think about it. Crazy Zerg is brain dead easy. You like put down these sunken colonies that are just insanely strong. And you just hide behind them and you just scale all the way up, making your drones. But if you don't make your drones, like everything doesn't matter, right? So you're still practicing those really fundamental skills, and that's what those builds do really, really well. But I think the difference between that and playing standard is standard will hit all the points at the same time, whereas these builds only hit a few of them at the same time. And that's the main difference between one way of playing and the other way of playing. So, I agree with you. I think CPL, a lot of players will, like, first of all, CPL is all volunteers, right? Everyone's, like, pretty much a volunteer. No one's being paid. And no one really, like, coaches the coaches, right? Like, teaching in itself is a skill. Being able to teach, being able to, planning out your lessons, it's all a skill. No one's going to deny that. So,
which can I just say, since you were my teacher, thank you very fucking much for everything that you've done for me and for Nest as well. Both appreciate it. Anyway, sorry, continue.
It is definitely a skill, and unfortunately, I'm going to say it, like, the reality is not everyone has that skill, right? That is what it is. What it is. Not everyone will have that skill, and that's okay because not everyone was born to be a teacher. So you throw all these people who are like, oh, it's like kind of like university or like college. Like the people teaching are proficient in what they know about the game, but they might not necessarily have the ability to teach. So they'll tell you, oh, you just do this build and just play the game out. But you might have like a terrible win rate with this build because this build was technically, assumes that you've got a fundamental understanding and you can play the game to a certain level. So sometimes it's better just to take a couple of steps back, play the easy build, maybe throw in that hard build once now and again if you're feeling a little confident about your play. But yeah, it's like a build progression, I think, is definitely a very optimal way of, and exactly what you're saying, like just pick that easy build, play that out, see every nook and cranny of that play style, and then once you're feeling more comfortable, then like advance forward in your career, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also too, it's like, there's if you it's kind of the same thing with like playing it single player versus playing multiplayer, right? But playing against another actual human being. Like if you practice a build order, like let's say, like for me, I grabbed this is before I joined CPL, before I met any of you guys, before I did anything. I just went on Liquipedia, which I know is super fucking out of date, but still.
I don't recommend that one anymore.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a little out of date. But I grabbed the 5-Factory Goliath from Flash, and I just learned that. I literally just went into a single-player game, and I just, at this supply, got this. At this supply, I did this. At this supply, I did this.
Yep.
The Koreans have a build name for that build. It's the fork user build.
The fork.
Yeah, because, it's so easy. It's like using a fork.
Huh. But, like, essentially, what would happen is I'd be like, all right, sick. I just practiced this build. I got it crisp. I got it down. Been practicing it for the last 3 hours. I've done it successfully 10 times. Go into a game, Zergling Rush. They kill off like 6 of my workers, and I'm like, well, fuck, now what do I do? Because I practiced that at exactly this supply, at exactly this time, this is going to happen, and this is what you need to build. And it's like, well, you get fucked with, and now that's all gone. So, like,
that is a primary issue, I think, of just blindly copying builds, not understanding the fundamentals. I always, like, whenever I was teaching you, for example, Deadweight, I was always like trying to fill you in why you were doing this, why you were doing it this way.
That was super helpful.
Because when you understand why, you understand the concepts, and when you understand those concepts, that's when you really like start to then you're able to identify the game state, and you realize, oh shit, I'm not in that game state anymore. I need to make changes to my plan.
Yeah.
And that's what Terran's all about. It's all about having a plan. If you go in with no plan, you are fucked.
I think there's 3 aspects of a player, and being good at any one of these is not good enough, right? So the first is strategy. That's your build order, right? Like you said, you got your 5-Fact Goliath build. You got it down. You know exactly oh, at 27 seconds I built this. At 32 seconds, which is 18 supply, whatever, you got this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's not gonna eat your part. The next one is mechanics, right?
Yep.
Your just general ability to macro, your ability to just keep producing workers, keep producing units, keep up with your production structures, how many you need. And the third one, which I think everyone kind of knows but no one really talks about, is game sense.
Yep.
The ability to look at something and go, oh, hey, I saw that depot was a little bit late. I think I kind of think he's doing this thing. So I'm going to build, I'm going to build my queens to counter his mech. Oh, hey, look, he can view my mech. Broodling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That sense of just kind of like where we are in the game, what's happening, he's got a lot of army for being stuck on 2 bases. Let me shift Q around the map to make sure he doesn't have a hidden base. Oh, he had, top left main. All right, let's go deal with that real quick, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you're
think
totally right.
Yeah,
I think you need at least 2 of those to be a quote unquote good player, and just for the reference, I'm using like A rank for quote unquote good, right? I think you need at least 2 of those to be there. But in order to be like the best players, you do need all 3, and with only 1, you're not going to get very far.
And I think that's a good point. I think kind of tying back into that too, a good point is, so when I'm looking at talking about builds and talking about how to learn the game, how I looked at it was I went, okay, I'm going to learn a basic, like I have 4 brain cells build for each matchup that I'm playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the
You sure
dumbest?
you're not a Protoss player at heart?
I mean, honestly, probably. I mean,
Hot takes
deep
only.
down-
Hot takes only.
deep down, I'm denying who I am. Really, I'm just fighting against it.
Are you going to come
but-
out of the Kala anytime soon?
Oh, I mean, next CPL, Protoss, Mr. Peanut Butter, Protoss all the
I have
way.
honestly been thinking
Mr.
about it
Protoss
for next
butter.
CPL. Like, I fucking hate myself for
Right.
it, just because I know, like, as a Terran main, like, I cannot stand any. I mean, honestly, I know a lot of Terrans hate Protoss, but I really hate Zerg at lower ranks
I
more.
think all Terrans should play Protoss.
Yeah.
It's just as a innate
There's a lot
milestone
of overlap.
to practice your. There's overlap, but to practice your TVP, because one of the fundamental problems Terrans have is that they think Protoss can do anything, right? Which is, technically, I mean, you can make that argument just a little bit,
12
but
Technically- technically true.
reality
Carrier
is,
first.
like if you're a little bit, if you're Artosis, that like. In reality, they can't, right? They have a limited, they have a limited economy. They can only make so many decisions at once, right?
Yeah.
So if you play Protoss, you understand like where their game state is and what their like red flags are for a poor game is for them. Like, if they lose too many probes at the beginning of the game to that first vulture, you might as well fucking leave the game immediately, right?
Mhm.
Or like you let the Terran alone for too long. They were able to get the 3-2. They have a 200 army. Now suddenly you don't have enough arbiters, and you're sort of dead, right? It was kind of like Quark actually made a very, very good point about Protoss players. A lot of lower ranked Protoss players, they're very used to just doing a bust with Zealot Goon because it's easy, right? You just like make Zealot Goon and then you A move, right?
Gateway man. 1A, 2A,
Gateway
3A,
man, yeah.
4A.
But that's not a efficient composition in the late game. You need arbors, you need spellcasters, you need High Templar arbiters, carriers. You need something that scales better. Because if you just have Zealot Goon against Tank Vulture, Tank Vulture directly counters Zealot Goon, So I think all Terrans should play Protoss, and all Protoss should play Terran, because then you just get a deeper understanding of the other side of the matchup. You almost can't really get to A rank without playing the other side, honestly.
Yeah. I've been trying to kind of learn all, because I started as a Zerg player originally, and then I had a horrible time because I didn't know anyone, and I was just trying to do it all by myself, and so I just was like throwing myself at the ladder just over and over and over again. It was like, why am I losing? And it's like, because well, you didn't build
Build
drones.
more Zerglings.
Yeah, we're like, yeah, exactly. And so, but then I switched over to Terran once because I kind of just that's what I played when I was a kid mostly was Terran, and so I was like, all right, well, fuck it, I'll just switch back
You had
over
a
to
terrible
there.
childhood, didn't you?
So you picked Terran.
I'm sorry, I can't.
No,
resist
I'm
that
fucking
one.
with
That
you.
one right there.
Sorry, Mr. Peanutbutter, go ahead. Sorry, I keep cutting you
Oh
off. Man.
no worries. I was gonna say. So it's funny that you mentioned that about playing the other races because that was a particular strategy that I employed for CPL this past season. Was going, okay, I'm going to play Zerg versus Terran and Zerg versus Protoss, and I'm going to play Terran versus Zerg. And because of that, there's kind of only one matchup I need to learn, which is ZVT or TVZ. And you can see both sides of that. Now, I also need to learn, ZVP, but realistically, there's one real matchup that is going to be 2/3 of the games that I played. Yeah, 973, right. Yeah, just play 973, don't worry about it. Or just 4 pool and be done with it. But it was one of those that, like, I went, okay, if I learned this one matchup from both sides, however I play this matchup, I'm learning more about what to do from the other side. So if I'm playing this matchup as Zerg, and I'm playing against Terran, and the Terran player kicks my ass, I'm going to watch that replay and go, hey, what did they do? And next time I'm playing a TVZ, I'm going to look at that and go, okay, they saw me do this. They responded with X. So when you look at a matchup from both sides, it allows you to learn that matchup in depth and to see what kind of both sides are doing and understanding what they're doing. And to me, overall, it allows you to have a greater understanding of that particular, almost like synergy, right? So switching from playing Zerg to playing Terran, honestly, it's not that hard. Change your hotkeys, adjust your hotkeys a little bit so that you have the same units. So I did some weird stuff with my hotkeys where basically I have the same units set to the same hotkeys. So for me, D is make Zergling. It's also the hotkey to make Marines. So I basically set it to that, okay, what's your basic unit that you make a shit ton of? Zerglings, Marines. Okay, that's D. What do you make SCVs and drones? Both of those are W. So basically I tied the hotkeys to the same unit and what you do with it. So when you switch between races, it's just about remembering what key makes your basic unit, your builder, your other main unit onto your barracks or your factory or whatever it is. So it's tying those together and going, okay, now I don't have to think about that. I just need to learn the matchup and I need to learn to read the game. So as you kind of talked about, Air, about, game sense, right? It was about learning how to look at the game and how to read the game and go, okay, what am I seeing and what does it mean?
That
So
takes
I
time.
think-
I have a hot take.
Okay.
I got a hot
Yeah.
take. Use grid.
Yes, actually, yes.
No, man.
My
Hot take. Use grid.
Oh, dude. No,
Everyone
man.
use grid. I played this game for 20-something fucking years. Use grid.
What?
Grid is super good if you're learning because you just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's very easy for learning. It's very easy just to, you don't have to look at your command card. You just got to know, like, you just kind of memorize it real quick and you just kind of, QWE ASD, right?
So I would argue that one, only because the way that I do it, I look at what is logical for me based on where the keyboard is, right? Like, scanner sweep.
You want to press P for probe?
Yeah, I do actually, because I put my nexuses on 0, 9, and 8.
Huh. I mean, that's very interesting, actually.
Like,
that's a very interesting take.
you can adapt your hotkeys to wherever the button is, but like,
Yeah.
I put my hotkeys to where it makes sense, right? So like, P for me, like, so scanner sweep, for instance, right? It starts with S. So my brain would think scanner, S. I don't know what the standard hotkey is for it. Do you know, anyone?
It is S. I think the standard
be S.
is.
Is it
it's
S?
And then I tell anyone to change it to like P or something.
P, 100%, because then you can have them on 0, 9, and 8, and P is in the word sweep, so it kind of makes sense. Same thing with like SCVs. I keep them on S. I always will. Marines, I'll always keep them on M. Stim can't really be on S because stop is on S, but T works. But because you have to worry about stimming Marines, I put all of my like command hotkeys, so like siege, cloak, drop. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Yamato cannon, Some of the other ones, I put all of those on T because I'm like, if I have to micro this unit and it's extremely important for me to hit T, stim, then why not just get used to having that with all my other units?
1T, 2T, 3T, 4T.
Well,
no matter what it is, it just did a thing.
I mean, yeah, because then my first finger is just on T, and I can use my pinky and my ring finger and kind of go back and forth, you know. But it's mainly that like
Optical
attack
flare on
is
T.
the real moves.
Best move in the
welcome.
game.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're welcome. I'm helping out Terrans everywhere.
Hey, listen, how else are you gonna blind them lurkers? All right,
Dude.
Hell's
Dude, follow for more strats, guys. You blind the overlords, you run your ghost in, and you nuke them.
Subscribers, welcome for that
Oh.
excellent commentary and excellent strategy right there.
Speaking of off-meta builds, speaking of,
Well,
you know.
So really quick though, unfortunately we are a little bit out of time today. I would like to continue this. I'd actually would love it if any of the three of you would love to come back here on another day and we can kind of continue, because I actually had like 5 or 6 more questions lined up just in case. But I thoroughly enjoyed what we were talking about and stuff. So yeah, if you guys want to come back on another day, I'm super down to have you on. But yeah, today we are unfortunately out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm down
good.
definitely. So no, this was a wonderful time. Thank you for the platform and the fun.
Yeah, and next time we will go for that full hour and a half. This time we had to do an hour because I do have plans right after this, unfortunately. So
An hour and a half. We'll go for 4 hours. Don't worry.
Hell yeah. Listen,
Aaron and I alone could do 4 hours. Like,
Oh
each.
God, yeah.
this was originally
You wanna hear
supposed
about
to be a
CSL
2-hour
for 3
cast.
hours?
right?
It was
just
originally supposed to be 2 hours, but then we kind of got stagnant, like, you know, and I didn't want it to get to the point where it was like awkward, where I like had to start like 100% asking questions the whole time and like anyway.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah. But yeah.
Trust me, with the 3 of us, we'll go for as long as you want content.
Oh yeah, I'm just sitting in the corner chugging beers,
Hell
just
yeah,
you know,
dude.
commenting in between burps. Yeah, you know, just keeping
Hell
it classy.
That's the way to do it. Anyone in the
That he's
chat or
actually drunk and we just can't tell.
I mean,
I know, right?
Pretty much.
what
I mean,
time
to
is it
be
there
honest,
for you, bud?
Oh, to be honest, I was drinking for most of CPL.
Zesky, what
Zesky,
time is it right there for you?
All right. It is 12:30 p.m. It's like middle of the day. It's fine.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect time to be
Yeah,
drunk.
it's great.
yeah.
12:30
Yeah,
p.m. on a what?
we-
Saturday?
That's
I mean,
Saturday.
yeah, on a Saturday. Yeah, we start. You know, we can do 11 in 11 minutes, or like 12 in 12 minutes, or 12 before 12. You know, that's how we Australians do it.
All right, so being sober at this time is actually frowned upon, is what I'm hearing.
I'm sorry.
so
being sober
cut
at
out
this point in the day is a problem for you, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not a standard Australian man. I don't chug like massive amounts of alcohol and like shut down my body before mid-afternoon. But hey,
yeah.
I just play Broodwar, man. I'm already a bit of a degenerate that way.
So I just want to say to everybody in the chat or anybody on YouTube that is watching this, first off, I really fucking appreciate it, and we all appreciate it, and please continue to watch, follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so that way we can continue to keep Broodwar alive, because it's just the greatest fucking game ever made, like hands
True.
down. And this cast is open for anybody from F rank all the way up to S rank, no matter where you're from. It's totally fine. Just hit me up. Reddit, Deadweight8. You can message me on Twitch. Obviously, if you're watching this on Twitch, you fucking know how to find me, so you more than likely can find out how to message me.
Here's his address.
Yeah, right.
Send him a letter.
Send me a postcard real quick.
Also, this is where he frequently gets groceries, and this is the bank he goes to. Just
Yep.
if you need to, catch up with him at any of those locations.
I'll be here all week.
Place of employment, mother's house. You know?
Nah, she
His
kicked me out
security
years ago.
deposit box.
She was like, "Get the fuck out of here, dude." I want to hear you screaming at your computer at fucking 3 a.m. All right,
That
guys.
was another
Well,
reason.
thank you, all three of you, for coming. Zesky, Airn, Mr. Peanut Butter. It's been a great fucking cast. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys come back on again.
Catch y'all later.
And thank you guys for watching.
Oh, a little bit of that.
Tip in the hat.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having us on, man. It was a wonderful evening.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, GG. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers. Bye.
See you guys.